Welcome everyone to I don't know if they see my face there. That would be interesting.
Okay.
And
Drop the mouse, I'll do the.
You'll do the driving? Okay, thank you. Okay, can you go to the next slide, please? So welcome everybody to the May 30th meeting. So first hybrid meeting that we do ever. And the first meeting in a while where we have an on-site component, which is kind of interesting. So if you want to go to the next slide. So today, actually, before we go any further, I just want to again reiterate that CA generously provided us the funding to do the wrap for the trailer we have for the EVX. So thanks to CA again. And any issue?
No,
okay.
See how it looks.
So the agenda will be fairly straightforward today. So we're going to talk about Communauto, and our friend Wilson hasn't arrived yet, so we may end up doing that after we do the EVX project updates. And once we do the project updates, Mike is going to talk about EV news. Lots of interesting news once again this month, including an escapade that Mike did today to go and do something. But I won't steal his thunder. Excuse me. Then we'll talk about past and future events. Excuse me. With EVX, we have quite a few things lined up right now. But anyways, I'll get into that when we get there. And then of course we'll have the roundtable. So since our friend Wilson isn't here, let's just skip a few slides there. So if you skip to that side, that's okay. Great. Whoops. Okay, let's talk about the EVX update then. So this is the trailer as you've seen before, and that's the branding we have. So next slide, please. So I just want to do an overview of where we are, of what brought us where we are with the EV experience. Okay, so what happened is well over a year ago, actually about a year ago, I should say, we had an Earth Day hackathon that was organized through the city, and Wilson has just arrived.
Right.
So
I don't get out much.
So maybe we'll go back and we'll get Wilson. Wilson, it's your turn to present. So I'll introduce you to Wilson Wood. So we'll run it on my machine. Okay, I've got the
Perfect.
I've got the. You want to go back 2 slides, please? So Wilson Wood is as you'll see in here.
Ancient history.
Yeah, it's a media it's a media release from 20-some years ago, 22 years ago.
22.
Yeah, where you were introducing Car, right?
Yes, and you notice that the guy, Bob Chiarelli, is now running for mayor.
Yeah. No comment. No comment. No comment.
How things don't change over time.
Yeah, so the reason that I had Wilson come over is because Communauto now, not Car anymore,
right,
is a major partner of our EVX project. So the idea is to get the membership to understand what the service is about, because we're expecting to have to answer questions during the during the program we're running. So anyways, I'll let you talk.
Okay.
And then I'll prepare the phone so that we could do the.
We can do the app.
Okay.
Okay. I apologize. I obviously say I don't get out much, and parking in the market has improved in the last 22 years. So it's actually a little more challenging, but I'm here. Yes, this is going back to the very beginning, and I do believe very strongly in the idea of death by PowerPoint. So I'm not going to give you a PowerPoint presentation, but we'll do 3 if we can, so you can show this one, and I think there's 2 more. So we launched in May 12th, 2020, and you want to go to the next one?
That's it.
That's it? That's okay. Well, there's another picture of our first car, which actually we didn't have.
Perfect.
Our first car that we launched in Ottawa on May 12th, we couldn't get it because I couldn't get the insurance on it. So I had to rent a car from Budget Rent-A-Car, and we needed a silver Toyota Echo because that was the car that we bought. And that was the fake in for the launch. So we had a picture of a chalk outline of a car, was our very first car. There it is. There's our very first car. Do you like it? It's a chalk drawing of a car, but it actually fit in with our idea that it's not a car, it's just like a car. And it's the idea that you don't really need the vehicle, you need the mobility, you need the way of getting from point A to point B. And how you do it is really secondary, as opposed to just having some way of getting there. So as I say, we launched there, one car. Our business model was very simple. We had no capital funding. We had no money. We had one car. But we did decide to start as a small business. Many people thought we were a cooperative, and to this day think that we were cooperative, although we never claimed that, but they just thought it was a kind of cooperative thing. And there were a number of co-op car shares operating in Ontario, People's Car Share in Kitchener-Waterloo, Modo, I think it was called the Car Collective in Vancouver. There was a car share in cooperative in Quebec City called Autocom, and there was Auto Share in Toronto. So there were 4 or 5 car share operations way back then. So we were a small business. We got our first car, and we asked people for a $500 refundable deposit. That was the entry point to get into be able to get a membership. That was actually part of our business model, because if we could find 10 new members, we could get $5,000, and therefore we could buy another car with a $5,000 down, and we were able to find a lender, and we grew from what was a 1-car operation in May 2000 to the end of the year. I think we had 3 cars, and then we went to 5 cars, and then we went to 7 cars. Again, the same business model. We kept finding new people who wanted to join. They gave us a $500 refundable deposit, and we were able to keep on going and growing. But it was all based upon, it was organic growth as opposed to a classic business model. And the concept of it being a cooperative or some sort of a shared social enterprise was something we didn't shun, because we certainly weren't making any money at the beginning. We got to the point at about 35 cars, and a lot of people confused us with, well, you're just renting cars. And it was actually different in a few ways. Extremely important in that the cars were available for as little as 30 minutes. So you could rent or share one of our cars for 30 minutes. And our cars were located in the community. And our goal right from the beginning is, once we got our first car, which I think was at Bank and Sunnyside, we wanted to put another car, but we wouldn't go any more than 500 meters from that car. So our growth was in like 500-meter footsteps. And we grew, every time we got another 10 members, we would grow maybe another 500 meters in the other direction. And so, as I say, 35 cars by about year 3 or 4. And at that point, I think we actually made our first dollar as a small business. But we always promoted ourselves as environmental, as an alternative to owning and operating a private car. Many of our people joined, identified that they didn't want to own a car for environmental reasons, for personal reasons, and for financial reasons. And we very quickly learned that financial was actually the most important. But we always used the least offensive cars that we could always find. So Toyota Echoes. We did get into hybrids very early on. Honda Civic came out with a hybrid. Absolutely nice car. Turned out to be a piece of garbage as far as reading it, what the manufacturer said it was going to get. And when we sold them about 5 years afterwards, we ended up getting a check for $150 for each one due to a class action suit that happened in the States because the cars never performed to what they said they were going to do. So, but hybrids were always the way for us to go. But our business model was based upon the maximum number of trips in a day was the most profitable day for us, as opposed to car rental. So a car rental, you take a car for a day, 1 day, 2 days, you get an upgrade, you get a nicer car. That's their business model. Our business model was to get as many people on a car in a single day as we possibly could. Hence, we had all of our rules about, you know, bring the car back to the right place, taking the car when you said you were going to take it, bring it back when you said you were going to. And at the time, we had zero technology. Our access system was all based on a lockbox stuck on a hydro post or on a pillar next to the car, and everybody got a key. So you got in, you got the key, open it up, boom, there's your key, away you go. Do please put the key back. And so, and it worked. In 2003, that's when our partner at the time, even though it was just a partner across the river, Montreal and Communauto was starting to develop a technology in terms of an online reservation system because they had just invented the internet, I think the year before we started our car. We ended up having an online reservation system in, I think it was 2004, when we actually got a system that you were able to book a car online. And it has evolved. And again, I won't go into all the details, but today we are now over 200 cars at, I think, 180 locations in Ottawa, Gatineau. We expanded to Kingston. We ended up taking over the cooperative or the co-op in Kitchener-Waterloo because it was in financial difficulty. So we ended up taking over that and ended up getting 5 cities in Southern Ontario. So now we're part of the Communauto network, and we've got, I think, 15 cities across Canada. And they're all using this same platform that was developed way back in 2003, which is what we call Reservoto, which is, I realized very quickly along that investing in the technology was not going to make me any money. So I was very happy to let Benoit Robert, who owns Communauto, invest in the technology and the reservation system. And then we ended up getting onboard computers to be able to manage the reservation. I didn't want to have anything to do with that. I just wanted to build a system in terms of finding new members and expanding our network here in Ottawa. In 2016, I sold the company to Benoit and under the requirement that I stick around for a couple of years because we were doing fairly well here in Ottawa. We weren't a fire sale, but he wanted to acquire us. And I retired in 2020. Unfortunately, I had a conversation with Raymond in an IKEA parking lot. And he said, I got this thing with electrics, and I really think we should do this. And I went, well, no, you know, I'm not sure that would work. And we got in, we have a lot of hybrids, you know, we do that. But he was quite insistent that electric was the way to go. So we put in a proposal in, I think, 2019 or 2020.
There were 2 different times.
So the very first one, we went in together and we put in a proposal. It didn't pass. So again, we decided to go back and find a partner who would be able to give us a little bit more back office support. And that's when we went to Enviro Center. And I'm guessing it's at least 2 years later that we now have EVX, which is our electric car experience. And it is really interesting because it's bringing together some really disparate partners. People who don't like cars, that's us. We don't really like cars. We just use them. And, you know, we have a business model that has 25 people sharing each of our cars. You guys are more into electric cars for personal use than the traditional model, but that's fine. But we found a common ground to be able to, well, let's see if we can get this together. So what we have now is a system that allows people to share, I think it's 5,000 cars across 15 cities in Canada. Montreal was into electrics in a really serious way. They bought 25 Nissan Leafs in the year 2010, 2011. We bought a Nissan Leaf in 2009, parked it at the World Exchange Plaza. Best car we had in the fleet, in my opinion. Worst business decision I've ever made. But it got us into the path. Montreal, I think, as I say, bought 15 Nissan Leafs. Again, they've regretted that decision from the day they did it. But they pursued the electric cars, and Quebec is obviously a much more favorable environment than Ontario for doing electrics. But we know that that's the future. It's just now how to figure out how we can make our business model work, which is, as I mentioned, getting as many people as we can on a car in a single day. That's where our profit comes from. And an electric car has some barriers to that. But we know that it's going to be the future. So this is a wonderful opportunity for Communauto to figure out how to truly integrate electric cars into our station-based system. And that's where we end up having a car parked at a place, at a location, or at a station, and people pick it up and they do a round trip and bring it back to that station. Montreal uses electric cars almost exclusively in a one-way service, and these are cars that are parked on the street, and people find them through their app, they pick them up, and they take them from go to point A, point B, then they leave them. The average trip is 17 minutes in downtown Montreal. We're going to the station car system, which means people take the car, go around, do their IKEA, drop off their empties, go to Home Depot, come back. That's about a 3-hour trip. So add some challenges when we were talking about adding electrics into it. So choose the city. If you can, go to Ottawa. I'll show you some things about how this is how people join and the prices and some of the other things that we're doing. So go to Ottawa. How it works very quickly. I've explained some of this, so I'll go fairly quickly. Down you go. So this is the difference between the station car system. This is what we're doing here in Ottawa. Pick up the car, do your trip, bring it back to the car. The one-way service, what we call Flex, is happening in Montreal. It's happening in Toronto. We just launched the Flex service in Ottawa. I consider it the greatest failure of my career is that I wasn't able to get Ottawa to take Flex, but it goes into their absolutely medieval on-street parking program we have here in Ottawa, but that's a whole other presentation, so we won't go there. So down a little more. Round trip is what we're doing, and so you have to pick up the car, use it, bring it back. We'll get in a little bit more as to how people get into the cars. So we started with the lockbox system, the key. We moved on to a fob system. So everybody was issued a fob to unlock the car with their fob and allowed you to get in the car. We never told anybody, but actually anybody could get into any car at any time with the fob. We've now moved on, and now it's all based on an app, which actually means you can only take a car if you've actually booked a reservation for it 9 minutes and 59 seconds before you've actually made your reservation. So a lot of it, technology and development has happened with the vehicles and the use of apps and access and tracking, preventing people from taking the wrong car. I will add in one of our secrets is works really good at surface locations, because we can have comms, so we have really good communications. It don't work so good when we go underground. We have some problems down there. So actually, those cars still work on fobs. and anybody can take them anytime they want, as long as they have the law. We would find out when you came out from underground. We'd know that you actually took a car with it. Yeah, we know that you took a car without a reservation, but, and it's a particular issue for the EVX program because 3 of our stations are going to be underground. So these cars won't have comms to be able to, just getting into them, accessing them, you're gonna have to still use a fob to get into these cars. So it's good. So we need to talk about how we're going to manage that and for our members, they already know how to get to underground cars, but it's going to be an issue for the electrics that we're gonna have. So I think what's really probably most interesting is if you go to the rates program or the rates next door to how it works. Top.
Oh, up there.
So go down a little bit, our rates, and if you just leave this screen up. So again, our business model is all based upon hourly use of the cars. And so over the years, we've had a number of different plans. We've called them all sorts of different names, but they really haven't changed very much. So these are cars that are available by the hour. And again, the green plans value, that's where you need to put that $500 down for a refundable deposit. The open plans, you don't need any deposit. You can just join up and use the cars. And you can see there's different rates per hour. And it gets a little complicated and people sometimes need some counseling or some help as to, well, what's the right program for me? But this service is not designed for people who want to commute to work every day. It's ridiculously expensive. What this is a system that allows people to use a car 3, 4, 5, 8 times a month to do their shopping, to go and visit their friends in Canada when LRT or your transit isn't going to be the best option. You can't use your bicycle, but that's what we're about. We're not about using the car every day, and you can take them to Algonquin Park. You can take them to Halifax. People do, but then we're very close to the car rental in terms of our pricing. If you want to go down a little bit more, Raymond, the most useful thing that we can provide to people, keep going down, and you should come to a calculator. This is the most useful piece of information when anyone wants to talk and they seriously think about either using us as an alternative to owning and operating a car. And people want to say, well, what's it going to be cost for me? And of course, everyone inevitably has a different need or a different trip or a different mobility requirement. So you can plug in. So for example, let's go for a trip tomorrow, Raymond. And we're going to choose the 31st. And it's a short trip. We're going to do 3 hours tomorrow afternoon.
So that's 20 hours?
That's the, 20 hours. It's the 24-hour clock. And you're going to take the car from noon until 4 o'clock.
4?
Let's take it till 4.
16, okay.
And then how far are you going to go? What are you going to do on your trip, Raymond?
4 hours, I've got time to do about 800 kilometers.
Give or take 100. You got the Ferrari electric.
So 50 kilometers maybe?
Maybe 50, yeah, whatever you choose. And then you do an estimated trip cost, and it ends up showing you exactly what it's going to cost. And one of the other things about car sharing is that this price includes your fuel, it includes your insurance, it includes the usage of the vehicle. So everything is included. There's no additional costs or add-ons. And that's through many, many years of attempting and working with our insurance partners to be able to find a service that allows everyone to be able to insure under our insurance provider, even though you might not have had previous insurance experience or you don't have a car. So getting insurance if you've never had a car can be a challenge if you've tried. But our system allows any of our members to be insured $2 million liability when they use our cars. So this is really, really helpful. When people decide, is car sharing for me? How does it work? And then there's long distance rates, but that's everything included for a 4-hour, 50-kilometer trip. And people then say, oh, well, I'm going to go to budget or going to go to a car rental and see how that compares. And then people are going to make their decisions based upon that, or they're going to, and this is the true magic of car sharing, is that people look at their trip and they decide either based upon availability of the cars or the cost of the trip, they will adjust their requirement of the car. So they'll either shorten it or elongate it. And therefore, whenever they do that, that leaves more time available for other people to use the car. And that's where the business case is that your users are the ones that are being flexible, as opposed to saying, well, this is what I need, and then you have to work around that in terms of providing this car for me. People adjust their availability, their use of the cars. Sometimes they can't get it. And I'll show, we'll go in and make a booking, and you can see, oh, I can't get the car until 1 o'clock, so I'll have to shorten my trip. Or I'll have to bring it back a half an hour early. So the member or the user is showing a little bit of flexibility, and that allows the efficiency of the vehicle, regardless of its propulsion system, to be able to be effective, both from a business perspective and also from the point of view of mobility. That's the most useful thing. But as I say, this is on the website. Anyone can go look at it. You can plug in your numbers. When people are saying, is car sharing for me? You send them to the trip calculator. And they can decide what they're needing, what they want, and where does that come in compared to what other options they might have. So let's log in. Up on the right.
Do you want to type in your
Okay,
magic password?
the magic password.
ASSW.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. That's what I like. Everybody see this? No.
Yes. What password does everyone see?
Did I do it right?
Find out.
We'll never save the password here. Do you want to?
No, I don't think I should get you to save the password. So here we are. We're now in as if you're a member and if you're a user. So these are all the things you can look at your previous invoices. If you were in Toronto, Edmonton, Hamilton, any Quebec City, anywhere but Ottawa, you could go and look at Flex, different packages. You can, some people choose to offset their emissions, right? So we've got a relationship with a provider who will allow you to, pay a little extra per kilometer, like a few cents. I think it's 3 cents per kilometer to be able to offset your trip. Various other access. But if you want to go up just the magnifying glass at the top, and what we're now going to do is reserve a car. So we're going to say, okay, we want to go on a trip. How do we get a car? How do we find a car? So choose a day, choose a time, see what's available.
I want to put the end too.
Yeah, you need to put the end date in too. So you can click twice on whatever date it is.
I'm just going to put the end date.
Yeah, so now we're going on a trip on the 6th of June. How long are we booking?
2 hours.
So we're leaving at 8:15 at night and until 11 o'clock. We're going to an EVCO meeting. Clearly. So now go down a little further and it'll say, now we are going to have, it hasn't been put in yet, but there will be an EV along here as in terms of the type of vehicle that you want to choose. I was chatting with them yesterday and that will appear.
Is utility vehicle that little van? That you have?
Utility vehicle, we have 3 Nissan NV200s that are in the fleet. So people often use our little NV200s. They're not 6 feet long, or they're only 6 feet long. They're only 6 feet long. So you can't put a 4x8 sheet of plywood in these cars unless you want to leave the doors wide open and drive them in 416 with your doors open, which I've heard people might have done. But yes, those are the utility vehicles. I don't want to know. But you can see we've got some fairly useless options, but there will be the electric vehicles will be on the list. So if you want to look at just the electric vehicles, this will give you an option to do that. We're not going to choose anything, so just show cars. And here we are on that date, we're showing 5. These are my favorite locations. And as luck would have it, these are the 4 of the locations where we're going to be putting electric cars that are part of the EVX program. So we're going to be putting a car, I'll be able to confirm this. I'm hoping we'll be able to put on Bayview Yards tomorrow. I'm meeting with the project or the infrastructure manager there. Waverly Street, we just had a charger installed on Waverly Street. Does it work? Yeah. Okay, it works.
It's already functional.
It's already functional. So we now have, that's our very first charger. Thank you very much, Sam. We're going to put one underground. This is an underground location at 150 Elgin. 150. That's the World Exchange. You can see we have a Chevrolet Volt there now and a Chevrolet Volt. So they're actually using the chargers at these 2 locations. And I put in 277 Richmond because it's a RAV4 all-wheel drive, which I sometimes like to take when I'm doing a trip. So as you can see on the dates that Raymond's chosen, there's actually 5 cars at 4 locations that are available. If it's orange, it means that you can't take the car. Somebody's got it. But if we wanted to take a car at any of these other locations, we could choose it right now. And that's what, June 6th? So that's a week ahead. Now, long weekends, a little more challenging. We have a maximum 30-day horizon when you're able to pick up a car. So you'll notice on June 1st, for people looking for the Canada Day weekend, there's a flurry of activity as people are going 30 days ahead to book their favorite cars. People learn these little tricks. But it's rather extraordinary than the amount of, and again, the closer you are to the time and the date of your departure, the more limited the availability of the 200 cars in the fleet. So you might have to go a little further to find your car, or you might have to adjust your time to be able to find the window of an available car. And I do this all the time. I'm really bad with those NV200s. I remember on Saturday morning, at 8 o'clock, I need a car to go and get something today. I can find one. We've got 3 NVs, but I then have to do my activity based upon the availability of the vehicle because I've left it so late.
Yeah, so is there a possibility here to say that I want the NV200 for 2 hours between a certain date and a certain date?
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You can go on and what you do is you go into your preferences and you make either the electrics or the NVs or those locations that are closest to you or closest to your work as your preferences. So it's going to look for those 5 cars first, and then there's an opportunity to show more time or show more stations right in here. So you can, all right, so show more time. So you're going to add in 3 more hours. Yeah, so you have to add in a factor. So, okay.
So that would give me a...
That exchanges. So just go ahead and do that and refresh. And suddenly you're asking, and because you're going late into the evening, strangely enough, there's a lot of availability. But yes, it's always necessary to check since people book these cars like at midnight, go and get them, take them home, park them on the street because there's no charge between 1 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the morning for any hourly charges. So people will go and get them, park them in front of their house so that they can take them on their trip first thing in the morning, and they haven't paid anything other than the kilometer charge, the 2 kilometers to get the cars to their house. So people learn all sorts of ways of not gaming, but using the rules as effectively as they can.
So these are half-hour slots.
They're all half-hour slots, a gray and white. Some people have complained about the green, doesn't work out very well. But yes, everything is in half-hour increments. And again, if we want to reserve one, we could take it. You can cancel a booking. I think it's 30 minutes. No.
How do I select it?
You see, here's a bit of software. it'll select it for you. It'll choose, it'll look in the background and see which of the cars have the most bookings, and it'll put you on that car to reserve the longest amount of space to a car at the same station. So if this car, the Prius, so reserve one, go ahead, we can cancel it. And then you get little notes, and there'll be some additional notes for the electrics that will be right there in the reservation system in terms of, you know, be sure to plug this car in when you return from your trip. Ensure that you have maximum range available. But again, we give a little piece of information. So yeah, make a booking. And
It's accepted.
there we've gone, and I've now just probably gotten an email telling me that I've got a booking on my car
That you need to cancel.
that I'm going to have to cancel. But we can do that right here. So you can either just go to the arrow. And now if you want to look at my reservations, so go to back to home up top. And you want to look at my reservations, so go to maybe, yeah, my trips. They've changed the graphics since I was doing that. So close that window. That's just giving you some instructions. So you see here, I made a booking and I went, oh, I didn't even make that booking. That was stupid of me. It didn't cost me anything to make the booking, so I can cancel that. So if you want to actually modify, so you see the M and the C, modify or cancel, just go to C. Are you certain you want to cancel? Yes, I do. And boom, suddenly the system now has made that car available for anyone else. You can, I think you can cancel a car. Is it an hour? I don't want to, I'm going to have to look at the rules to find exactly, but I think it's an hour before, maybe it's 3 hours. But anyways, it's an hourly increment before that you can cancel your booking. So some people go in and really play the system knowing, well, I can cancel at the last minute. So we get a lot of cancellations at 2 o'clock in the morning for the next morning, which is good for us because suddenly cars are available on a Saturday morning and people who are desperate can go in, oh my God, it just came up. So yeah, I think there's a 3-hour window where there's no penalties for canceling. And then the closer you get to the start of the trip, then there's a penalty for canceling closer to your booking, or penalty for canceling once you're into reservation, because we don't want people hogging cars and to blocking the system for other accesses and users. So I have no other bookings or reservations.
Sorry, I just wanted to show this is the phone app, right? So the phone app.
You have the phone app up?
Yeah, so that's the same thing, I guess, right?
Yeah, let's sign in.
So you'll have to.
More and more people are using this.
505.
5001.
Password.
Okay, you haven't, you didn't memorize it.
I didn't look at it.
Good, thank you.
Oh, it's showing.
Okay. Oh, I don't care.
Quite quick. Lost it. Bring it over to the other screen.
Yeah, here, put it in here.
Bring the window over to the other screen.
Yeah, but hold on a second. Yeah, I'll do that while he's, man, I don't know why the window hasn't cinematic. I'm happy.
Okay. So now I'm in on the app. And more people are using this as their way of finding it. So I don't know if you can expand this a little bit.
I don't believe so.
Go up to the big square.
Like,
Yeah.
expand it there. I don't know if it's gonna.
No, it's just gonna
That won't, maybe.
It's showing the phone, right?
Oh, so it's showing the phone. But again, here's our business model. You'll notice there's cars and they're all like a couple of 100 meters apart. And we're now almost Bayshore to certainly past Vanier, and South Keys is our catchment area. But again, we try not to isolate cars way out in the middle of nowhere. So there's always a car within 500 meters of any of our cars, allowing people to give, choices. If one car is blocked, oh, well, I have to go to the other direction. So on the app, let's see if we can book a car. So go down here to the,
That or
Yeah.
or to here?
no, I think it's the calendar.
Or can you just click on a green card?
Yeah. You can click on a green car that tells you the car and gives you some information as to where the car is and how to get there and if there's any issues with it. So, choose to book a car, do it like in, what time is it now? So book one for 8:15.
Today?
Yeah,
That's now.
yeah, so do the market.
It's 8:15 right now.
Yeah, 8:15, and we're gonna take it for, an hour. We're just doing a quick trip. We gotta take somebody home.
So here, 9:15.
Oh,
Okay.
cool, I've never seen this before. I didn't know we had this little clock.
Oh,
You have, the state, you remember 24-hour clock, so you have to go to 21. Okay, so search. And what it now will tell us is the gray cars are not available. They're gone. But we can get a car right here at clearance, so go and
walk away, yeah.
click on a green car. This vehicle must be returned to its station. It's a red Yaris.
A red car.
A red Yaris. What happened? Sorry, the silver Toyota Echo is any car you wanted. We had to break the rule. So we're starting at 21:15 and you can put a note in it and this note will show up on your invoice. So if you're ever going to, justify things to the chief financial officer in your house as to what you did with the car, it's right there on the invoice. Yes, Raymond was drunk. Again, it's up to you to deal with it once you've done it. So you
Went
can,
to the flower shop.
went to the flower shop to get, I was sorry flowers. So you can put any information in there. Yeah, EVCO meeting, perfect. And reserve this car.
But now it's gonna reserve it like.
Yeah, so we're gonna take a car out of service for 15 minutes. Okay.
For an hour.
Or we're taking it out for an hour. And then we'll bring it back early so that we won't piss anybody else off. So now we actually want to go to the car. So imagine we're at the car. So we need to go to look at my reservations.
Where are they?
My reservations. So current reservation.
I can't read it. Oh, right up there, okay.
Right up there.
Okay.
And I'm trying to simulate that we're standing right beside the car. So maybe we need to go out of it and go back in. We need to close it because I want to show you the.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to close it though.
Oh, no, this gives us the commands. You see, when you're at the car and you've got your phone, you can unlock the car right there. You press the unlock button and that unlocks it for us. If we decide we're out after our hour and we think, geez, I'm going to need another 15, 20 minutes, we can extend our reservation. Inside of every vehicle, there is a credit card. So the rule is if there's a quarter tank in the fuel or less, it's your turn to fill up the fuel. But you can use our credit card and you click on the credit card button with your app. It will then authorize the credit card to be used for, I think it's a 15-minute period. And it'll then send you to your phone a PIN number so that you can actually use the credit card to and put the PIN. And then if you couldn't get it, you couldn't use our credit card for some reason, and use your own credit card, you can use your credit card and send us a picture of your receipt, and that'll be credited to your account.
And then you get the points. Just saying.
Some people, Sam, are so obsessed with those points. Personally, I don't get it, but people think those points are like more than gold. So this is what allows you to do in your receipt. So we haven't even taken the trip, but we can cancel it the same way. But more and more people are using the app to do everything. So some people don't even have a fob anymore. Now that means you can't get into an underground station and use a car that doesn't have comms. So certainly if you're going to use the electric cars or you're going to be anywhere downtown, we always recommend that and we send a fob to you in the mail once you've registered and you signed up. But some people never remember to take it with them. So I never need this. But then you're in an underground station. How are you going to get in?
It's not working.
Yeah, no, it's not. So the app doesn't work underground. So let's go to current reservations. See if we can bring that down. Vehicle must be returned. How do I return the car? Because it'll give me an opportunity to end my trip. And if you end your trip, you get back 20% of the value of the time remaining on your trip as a credit.
You're still paying 80%.
Yeah, you're paying 80%.
Because nobody else can use it.
Because nobody else can use it, but you're doing a nice thing to your other members by returning the car early
Sure.
and making it
If
accessible
somebody
for
wants, they can.
anybody else to use. So we give you a 20%
Okay.
credit
That's
for behaving in a way that is in the benefit of the rest of the users. So I don't know how to cancel this trip from the app. We might have to go back into my regular booking. So go to my reservations list, see if it's there.
Yeah, it's there.
It's there. So now you can cancel that trip.
Oh, how come it's R now?
Well, because it's reserved. So it's going to cost me some money. Are you sure you want to release this vehicle? Yes, I do. And does it give me a cost?
You get 20% back.
I get 20% back.
It's probably in your transactions.
It's somewhere in the transactions, and I can show you. My invoice is terrible to look at because I mess it up due to access to my ability to book the cars as a staff person as opposed to a regular user. So my numbers don't make any sense at all. But you get a monthly invoice with every trip as an individualized trip with the comment that you made about that trip and the cost for each trip. I'm not sure what the number is now, and it might be different with the price of gas, but when people were hitting between $350 and $450 a month for their use of their virtue car, their Communauto, they were at the point where they were saying, maybe I need to buy a car. Now, I don't know how much it costs to lease a brand new car or whatever these days, but people weren't doing direct comparison. They found at that number, the inconvenience of using our cars was moving them to thinking maybe I should get my own car.
And pay the premium for the.
And pay the premiums and do all of that. So I've stopped counting the number of people who have gone to Marc Desrochers at Bel Air Toyota and saying, I used to be a Virtue Car member and I really like the Yaris or the Prius C or whatever car, or the Corollas that they were using. Can I buy one of those? And dozens and dozens of people have bought cars from Marc based on their Virtue Car experience. So that does bode well in terms of the objectives of the EVX program. Now, whether or not Toyota doesn't have any electrics, but that's beside the point. But so they'll go to Kia and say, I've been driving this Nero and the EVX at Communauto and I love it. And I'm at the 350 or 400. With the price of gas, I'm guessing it's got to be closer to $500 a month now in terms of justifying getting involved in car ownership as opposed to using our service. But whatever that number is, I guarantee you people will be going to Kia and buying a Nero based on using our electric cars that are in our fleet now. It just, because people are comfortable. Oh, I like it. It's exactly what I want. I'm used to it. I want to get one of these.
A 2-year test drive.
And they've had a 2-year test drive, knowing exactly what it is, and they want to get their own. So, as I say, I kept asking Mark, I'd like front row seats at the Senators, because I know that Bel Air Toyota buys a bunch of them. I think I should get some, because of the number of people I've sent you for. I never got those. But
Last
nonetheless.
thing, Levat gives us those tickets, and all we do is buy beer.
Exactly. So that's my presentation. I just wanted you to get real hands-on how it works, how it doesn't work, its limitations, its advantages. Questions?
Anybody online have questions? Sorry, you had a question?
I have one question. Yeah, so with electric vehicles,
Yes,
is there a way to look at the battery charge status?
I'm told yes, there is. There's going to be some, and we're doing two things. We are programming each vehicle, each of the Neros are going to have a 3-hour buffer period. And I don't know why they're doing this. I need to get more, 3 hours before and 3 hours after a car comes back from a trip is going to be logged.
Charge it up.
Is going to be for charging.
Okay.
So the goal is that they want a 50% charge on the battery before anyone takes it anywhere.
Okay, that's.
You may find that 3-hour block a bit too.
I thought I was overly generous.
Yeah.
But you could.
Let's start with that.
Yeah, start with that.
Start with that, see how it goes. but
See how it goes, and then if we want to narrow it down, I think that's what.
Pretty sure you'll want to narrow it down, because most trips to replenish won't take.
Now, most of our 5 EVs are going to be taken by Enviro Center EVCO facilitators, who are the smartest people in the world when it comes to using electric cars, and will always plug them in when they return. So therefore not causing any problems for people that are going to be using the vehicles after them, who might be another EVCO Enviro Center user, and if you want to see some trouble, try that.
Now, it could also be that if you want to reserve a car, but you only need it for 15 minutes, that you might be able to book it sooner.
Yeah,
I don't know,
and
there's some more, there's
Yeah.
some more
We-
programs to do.
We know that's going to happen in the future, but for the moment, we anticipate most of these cars are going to be booked for like a half day or a full day
Okay, yeah.
because of
Then
the
that's-
test drives and all of those things that are going to be happening. And Enviro Center is going to be, when they book them, they're going to be booking them for the day.
That's a good place to start.
And again, how much use our regular membership is going to have of these vehicles during the project, I'm not sure.
Mhm.
So we don't want to overly inflate expectations
Yeah.
that, oh, with these 5 electric cars, the people are going to say, we can never get them. And so we'll have to refer them to Enviro Center to book them through them because they've got kind of first dibs on them. But then there'll be certain periods where they won't, and people who are, I know that people are interested in using them will find those times.
Mhm.
And it'll be interesting to see, is the 5 cars, how much is going to be happening with Enviro Center? And we're going to caution people, take the cars only for the time you need them. Don't take more than you need just because you think you can, or it's being paid for through the project. Because whenever you're taking a car, it means that any of our other, I think we're at 7,000 users now here in Ottawa, can't use those cars. And so we're hoping, obviously, it'll be an experience for our users. It's not the primary reason that we're getting them. Obviously, it's the EVX program, but we're certainly going to promote them to our users. And we know, as I say, the Nissan Leaf, best car we had, very popular amongst a smaller proportion of our users. And they were quite upset when we lost it, or when we left it. After 7 years, we sold it and said, well, we'll be getting more someday. And now we are, probably 5 years after we sold it. But away we go. Sir?
2 questions. Why did you say it was the worst business decision if it was so popular? Was that just the?
Well, 2 reasons. A, we wanted to show our commitment, and the hybrids, we've been probably 60% of our fleet is hybrids. I don't know if you can go back to the Communauto website And you can see our fleet. Just go to Communauto, Ontario. No, I think you're still in the app. So go Communauto, Ontario, or Ontario Communauto. And so the reason was World Exchange Plaza was very excited about getting the first shared electric car in Ontario in 2010. So they paid for the charger. And I think it was $10,000 back in 2010 to get a charger. And so they put it in there. So we felt a commitment to keep it there. And they've never been able to figure out how to charge us for the electricity. So, because they have variable rates in commercial buildings, as Sam tried to explain to me, and I just still don't understand.
So do you have the?
But it talks about our fleet. There should be something in fleet, go back to the top. How it works, rates. I think it's under how it works. And if you go down, what? Our fleet, there it is.
You have to click the fleet.
I did.
There you go. So clearly we don't have our electric car in its lovely picture with its new electric decals, which is different from all of our other cars. But you will see in the next week, because that we'll be adding that to our fleet. So you'll have a Prius C, Toyota Corolla, Mini Cargo, RAV, Prius V, and Kia Niro. And I can tell you, we have gotten our cars.
You have them.
We don't.
Okay.
Kia Donnelly has.
Okay.
Sweet. So now I can tell Raymond?
Now you can tell Raymond. Now you can tell Raymond.
Good.
We still have to do a number of things.
Awesome.
It was partially the blackout messed up things because Kia didn't have any power. So we still have to do the financing, the leasing, the ownership, the licensing. We have to put our onboard computers onto the vehicles. We have to put the decals onto the vehicles. So we're going to do that as fast as we can. And I don't know when the launch is. When's the launch? Who knows? We don't know. It was the 6th. It was.
From our perspective, we're already 3 months late.
I know we're a few months late.
Yeah, but
We did a soft launch this week.
Yeah.
The official launch should be in the next week.
So we have unofficially received our cars. I haven't seen them yet, but the guy said last week, he said any day now. And then when he got his power back, he says they're going to be coming off the truck this week.
Cool.
okay. So there's excuse me, no chance we have them for this weekend, right?
Not at all. Not a chance. So I don't want to.
Yeah, that's okay.
These are the 5 Niros. We're getting 5 Kia Niros.
Cool.
We're going to be using them for events, right? That's really the reason we brought them into the
And
partnership, but also this allows them to electrify their fleet, which hopefully every vehicle they buy going forward will be electric, right? So they'll.
sorry, did we
You
answer?
didn't answer, why was the lease such a bad investment?
Because very quickly, I've always had a saying about our members, they don't really care what they're driving. It could be a refrigerator with 4 wheels. They don't really give a damn what the car is. They just want to go from point A to point B. And they very quickly learned that the range, and I found a very old thing, the maximum range we guaranteed on the Leaf was 80 kilometers. Because we had to cover for all experience. So people had range anxiety right off the bat, and people they didn't want to go through it. We only had one in our fleet, so we never were able to get the dissemination of information to allow them to understand, well, this car is different. This was a very special car. We found a clique of people who absolutely loved it. And I've heard stories of people who would get on their bike, ride 20 kilometers to be able to get the electric every time. That's the only car they wanted. I don't know if it was one of you guys, but nonetheless, I've heard stories about
I
it.
think I know those people.
Yeah, but consequently, we have 3 cars at World Exchange Plaza, the electric and 2 others, or no, yeah, only 2 others. And the other 2 their revenue per month and the trips per month was like double what we would see in the Leaf.
The Leaf is a special car that's not.
It is, and that's why we didn't buy more.
That's fair.
What about, like parking tickets and different sort of, red light cameras, things like that? What happens when you get
No different than owning your own car, because we can know exactly who's in our car. Remember, you fobbed in or lined in, so we know exactly who's in our car, and we get astounding number of red light tickets, astounding number of parking tickets in Toronto. And we know exactly who had the car, when they had it. We will pay the ticket on your behalf and add it to your invoice. And I think there's now this wasn't what I did back in Virtue Car, but now there's a $25 surcharge for the joy of paying your ticket on your behalf. You can't argue it. You can't take it to court. You've lost that right when you use it.
That makes sense. And that's how the tickets get paid.
And that's how the tickets get paid.
You don't just mail it to them.
You don't just mail it to them and let people argue. No, we pay it on your behalf,
Absolutely.
and we charge you $25 for doing so.
That's
We
right.
used to try and deal with people much in the olden days, but forget it. And then we moved into Toronto and, oh, shit.
I need to automate that process.
Yeah, we've automated it, and we don't have a problem anymore with parking tickets.
And the city loves them.
The city, yeah, I always talk to our city people when I say, look, do you know how much we pay in parking tickets? And they say, thank you very much. That's all.
They don't have to chase after it. They
Yeah.
get paid every
Yeah.
time.
And it'll be the same thing. Each of these 5 electric cars are going to have a circuit électrique card in the car. So you'll be able to use, it's a prepaid car, or it's a card that's already assigned to our account. So it means that and I don't know enough about this, and I'll be really curious to talk to you guys about how we can charge them up when people are not at the station or they're going out on their trips, how we use these circuit electronic, which I'm told work at charge
They're
points.
super reliable. They're
Yeah.
Everywhere. Yeah. That's
And how they work and how it happens.
Like a tap on the interact machine.
You literally just have to pay.
Well,
So.
I
it'll be good.
like to believe you. I just need to have the experience.
It's easier to pay for your electricity than pay for your gas.
It is.
It really is, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So Wilson,
I want to believe you.
Wilson will introduce you to the EV experience.
I would love it. Believe me, I will become your
Bring it for
biggest.
the first test drive.
Yeah. As soon as I get one, you guys will know about it. And
Better, we got an Ionic in the parking lot, you can test drive that one tonight.
We
There we
got
go.
two. I got one.
Mike down here.
so nonetheless, we're very excited about this, and I think it's going to be a really interesting way. But again, we're looking at it from our perspective, which is we don't want people to buy these cars. We don't want people to leave and buy one, but it does happen. But at least they're going to have a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year experience. And because there's 5 of them, it means that we'll be able to actually get a lot more of our users. There'll become a lot more familiarity with them. And, I can't turn on the news or read a newspaper without reading a story about electric vehicles at the moment. So I think maybe we were a bit ahead of the curve in 2010. But that was all good. We learned a lot about it. And, we got a charger and we know how they work and we've been in them. So this is just the next evolution of our electric vehicle experience at Communauto.
Cool. Any other questions? Anybody online has any questions?
Just a quick comment. My son lived in Montreal and he used Communauto all the time.
Yeah.
He lived close to downtown. He would sometimes drive to work with Communauto.
Yeah.
There was one on his street and he'd drive it, park it.
And then leave it, because he had the on-street service, the flex service.
And
Yeah.
he didn't have to worry about parking.
Yeah.
Because there were like reserved parking spots.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I fantasize about that with the city of Ottawa, but as I say, our parking, on-street parking policies are medieval.
Yeah.
They are medieval and no one is, so I'm going to be pitching all of the mayoralty candidates to bring us into the 21st century in terms of their on-street parking policies.
It shouldn't be difficult.
Well, the problem is councillors have the power and they use it as a.
They use it as a
as
leverage.
something that they could give away to.
It's either payment or punishment, for whatever. And on the last count, I think Ottawa had 32 parking permit zones. Some of them are as long as half a street. Some of them are as big as Centertown. Is there any contiguousness to them? Is there any rationality to them? No. And we have tried, I have been trying for 10 years to get on-street parking for a one-way service in Ottawa. I came close, but then somebody retired or somebody got fired, I don't know. And they got a proposal that's been sitting there for I think it was a 35 car one-way with just 3 zones: Glebe, Centertown, Sandy Hill. And you could take it from zone to zone to zone, and you could drop them in. But I'm a failure. I didn't get them to do it. It's the one thing that I wish we'd done. Yes,
I
sir.
have one question. So for the carbon offset for the driving,
Yes.
are you at liberty of sharing who the provider is?
Can you click? Yeah, I'm sure on the website.
On the-
It's on the website. It's out of Montreal. It's a Quebec-based thing. But yeah, I think, and when you go back to the website, and you go down to the very bottom, you can find somewhere where it talks about carbon.
Just scroll down,
Okay, just scroll down.
Go to the very bottom.
all the way down.
Did we talk anything? Yes, Ghg Offset Program. So you can find that on the website and explore and find out who it is and how we work, and so you can calculate 40, yeah, it's 0.000042 cents per kilometer. So,
Unless you're into hybrid or electric,
yes, and if you're an electric,
it's zero.
it's zero.
Zero, it says right there. Yeah, it says right there.
There we go. So yes, that's the carbon offset
But it
program.
doesn't say, it doesn't say which provider does.
So there's the projects,
Here.
Planetary.
Planetary.
Yes, Planetaire, that's who does it. Are you familiar with them? Heard of them?
He also partnered with the right network, I think.
Did we?
Flow is a great network, yeah.
Okay, yeah, flow is something, although Sam talked me into going non-flow
Well,
charger.
Zip3,
Flow has a couple issues when you go like in the commercial side, which
Sure.
are 3-phase. They screw themselves over. If you have 2 chargers, they will charge at half rate.
Yeah.
And
but as for the DC fast charge network for this
yeah,
kind of thing.
different story,
Yeah,
different price range.
these are level 2.
Yeah, you're talking
Yeah.
level 2, yeah.
They're
for the level 3
dedicated, they're
network.
dedicated to community.
Correct,
right?
but
So it's a bit of a
that's right.
difference.
But let's say we go like in World Exchange and put 2, it's a 3-phase system. They would only charge at half rate
Half speed.
until there's a power outage and they reset. And then as soon as you have both of them charging, then, oh, wait a minute, instead of 32 amps, it drops to 60.
I have a question for the assembled experts. Our newest electric vehicle station at 357 Waverly, we're having to rewrite our parking agreement with them. Obviously, we pay for our parking. Now we're adding this additional issue of we're using her electricity to pay for our car. So she suggested, well, should I add, what, $1,000 a year for electricity for this vehicle?
I think, so the average EV takes about $2 per 100 kilometers, so if you can figure out how much the cars at that location typically drive, it's $2 per 100.
It's also going to be charging with circuit électronique, right? When it goes out, and you guys,
Potentially, yeah.
so
But how,
that's.
But that would be
you
less
have
often.
and that's where the first year is tricky, right?
Yeah.
Because are they actually gonna be charging on the road, or
Are they gonna be
just
using-
gonna bring it back, plug it in?
I think with the Nero, they have a long enough range that I think most of the time will be charging, like 95% of the time should be charging at the home base.
At the home base, yeah.
And then you can figure $2 per 100 would be a decent average for.
$2 per 100 kilometers.
Yeah, so if you
Okay.
can figure out the mileage, then
We
it's
will
$2 per
easily be able to
100.
do that, and our EV duty charger will be able to tell us how much draw?
Your car will tell you that.
The car will
will
tell you.
you.
Car
But
will
if the
tell
car
you.
doesn't know which charger it's.
It doesn't matter, it'll tell you how much it's taking when it's taking it.
In real
Okay.
time.
So the car does all the charger gives you electricity, the car does all the things.
So there's no smart chip in the charger to tell us how much it was used.
No, but you can monitor that with, I can show you, Enviro, is it, in,
You may-
the
You
CTs.
could do like a Hall effects thing and just.
Yeah, but the,
Yeah.
with my EV charger,
If
I
you
bought
figure
the
that
option, and it allows me to do it through Wi-Fi, I could figure all that out.
Okay.
There is a way to measure what the station is.
Yeah, so again, I'm rewriting the parking agreement with this, and when she said $1,000 a year,
That's way too
I'm hoping that's way high.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
way
that
high.
That was on the high side. It was to be safe on the first year, and I also said you should really reevaluate after a year.
Like worst case, like what, $20 a month?
I would say $500 a year would be.
$500 a year would be more realistic.
That would even be on the high end.
Okay.
Now, don't forget, guys, that it is a rental
Car
vehicle.
share, so it's used
So
all the
it's
time, yeah.
being used more than our cars.
Yeah.
But you figure 20,000 kilometers a year, okay,
What
for average
mileage do you
hybrid,
do?
how many kilometers? do you
Actually,
do?
yeah, that's a good
At 7, we usually life cycle our cars after 7 years, and they're at around 180,000 kilometers.
So 180,000 divided by 7.
25,000, 26,000.
But there's no way these cars are gonna go 25,000 kilometers a year.
This car is 9 years old.
9 years,
This mileage,
293,000 kilometers.
these are much different costs for the past 31 days. And this car is very inefficient.
Yeah, 26,000
Very inefficient.
times
Wow.
2 cents, you said?
Yeah.
So you give you an idea.
$384.
That's
gasoline.
Yeah, so $500 a year.
38. I like that number better. than that. That's a much better number. So
$38.
in the last 30 days,
Last 31 days, yeah.
you've done
Yes.
38 on an inefficient.
So,
Okay.
Nick,
Driving.
are you comparing it to
Wow.
so for your narrow, you're looking at like $500 a year.
Okay, that's very helpful.
Okay.
That's based on the mileage that you just gave.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try to wrap up. I'll just show that with my charger, my EV duty charger at home, this is what I have, okay? So you see the charging sessions
You have the
there?
same charger, you can do that.
Okay, yeah, so the same charger should be able to do that, exactly, right? So it's got how much it's costing for each charging session.
Wow.
Okay,
Less than a dollar.
Yeah. Less than a buck is a charge.
some are a bit more because there's more, right?
But
So,
when I take my Tesla and I drive to Toronto and I charge up at Brockville, it's gonna cost me $20 for a fill.
Yeah. Well, that's a fast charger.
It's a fast charger and it's a Tesla.
Yeah, those are-
Time is money.
And I don't care about money if I'm a Tesla owner, right?
Time is money.
That's great, he's got two.
Okay.
anyways,
But yeah, so you're looking at probably $500 would be reasonable.
That's extremely helpful, Mike. Extremely helpful.
Yeah.
So the EV duty.
And I would say most of the charging will be done at the station because
I think so. At 385 kilometers,
That's.
are they telling the truth? Do you think it's really gonna be
Yeah,
that?
Kia Hyundai are pretty good about the estimate.
As opposed to what Nissan Leaf told us back?
Nissan is out to lunch. I have a Leaf. It's, yeah.
Okay.
so one of our friends, Lejean Plou, has got a Kona,
A Kona,
Same
same thing,
color,
yeah.
and it's rated for about 400 kilometers. He
Yeah.
gets 500 kilometers in reasonably good conditions all the time.
All the time. 500 kilometers on a charge.
Yes. So
Yeah.
Nissan, Hyundai, Kia are pretty reasonable about their.
Oh,
yeah,
That's.
Yeah, they got
this is
sued.
light years ahead of our.
They
Nissan
got
Leaf
sued
time.
a number of years ago, so now they're being careful about.
Yeah, so they're very good.
estimates, right?
You bought really good cars.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I believe that there are 30 Kia Niro coming into Canada this year.
Oh, no, there's more than that for sure.
Is there?
Probably just with that dealership.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this is from Kia Canada. And they said, and Communauto is buying 30. 25 for Montreal, 5 for Ottawa.
Well, there's definitely more coming.
Are
Yeah,
they?
there are more for sure.
It's one of their more popular EVs.
They stopped manufacturing it for a while though, so anyways, but yeah, it's
So
quite
whatever
popular.
reason, great.
And if you look at the other models that they have in Kia and Hyundai, which is the same company, right? There's a lot of them coming in, so EV Ioniq 5s like Mike and Sam have. you wouldn't believe how many people on the weekend when we had it.
Oh, I'm sure
How many
that,
people told us they had one or they had one on order?
well,
Guys just stopped by while I was testing out the thing, and he was like, "I've got one of these on order," because I was like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah.
well, I live in West Wellington neighborhood and I've got a dog. So of course I'm out walking. I've stopped counting the number of EV chargers that I'm seeing on houses.
Yeah.
It's like every time I take the dog out for a walk, where'd that one come?
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
you live in a rich area. too.
I know I do. Well, rich for some people. I went in 22 years ago when supposedly I'm rich, but it doesn't mean
Well,
anything.
thanks a lot.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you for your time. Hopefully I didn't go on too much.
And you're welcome to stay.
All right, if anybody on the chat wants to talk, just unmute yourself and talk because we can hear you.
Yeah.
But if there's no other questions, Raymond, do you want to step into the light a little bit? There you go,
Okay,
perfect.
so as I had started saying earlier, do want to do a quick update on the EV experience. If you go back to the next slide, please.
Great, go left.
Okay.
This-
Go left,
Oh, the next slide.
like this.
There you go, perfect.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Okay, cool. So I just want to go talk about a bit of the background, and this is going back a few years. Actually, here I'm talking mostly the last year or so with Envirocenter and all that, and what we were trying to achieve. Okay, so essentially we had a hackathon, and the OCF, Ottawa Community Foundation, was there. The city was there. I was there. Smart Net Alliance was there, and there were a few other odds and ends. And essentially what we figured out is the hackathon was about finding ways to promote EVs and accelerate the adoption of EVs because it's an important part of the city's objectives to reduce greenhouse gases to meet their net zero by 2050 targets, right? So anyways, what we did some research. One of the guys that was part of this did some research and found out that there were actually studies that were showing what we had already observed, that doing test drives is the most effective way to get people to actually switch to an EV, right? So the idea was, and as we'll talk about the little controversy lately about this, but the idea was to drive, pun intended, as many test drives as possible. And of course, to be able to do that, you need to do some education and all that. So there is an educational component to, educate the public about the benefits of EVs. So we at EVCO, we do not have the capacity to scale as much as what we wanted to do. So the idea was to figure out how we could scale. The other part was the insurance. So Wilson talked about insurance, and I'm sure you have some interesting stories. Sorry?
Sure.
Yeah. So
La Capitale in Quebec, it's Adia in Ontario.
okay, but anyways, so for us, insurance is a real barrier because if I want to be doing test drives and I want to be compensated to do them, so assuming we don't have enough volunteers to do all these test drives, we would want to pay people to do the test drives. Well, if we pay people to do the test drives and you pay me to do test drives in my car, I have to have commercial insurance, and that costs $5,000 per vehicle, right? So that's part of the reason why we went to Communauto to see if we could leverage their model to be able to get around this liability issue, right? Because we don't expect things to happen, and I know with Communauto, bumps and scratches are relatively common. So they're relatively common, but for us, when we've done many test drives, and problems are less common because people know they're using a private vehicle and we're following a set path and all that, so it's a bit safer, right? But regardless, we don't want our members to end up paying the price and not being insured for doing something that they're doing out of the goodness of their heart, right? So anyways, all that led to this vision that we had. There was a concept similar to plug and drive, where there would be actually a permanent location where we could store cars, and those cars would be cars provided by manufacturers. So on top of the cars with Communauto, we would have some cars for manufacturers, just like Plug and Drive has in Toronto, right? And we'd be able to run something that's very similar to the Discovery Center, and run the program that way, right? So that's what the vision would look like. We wanted to be able to take the equipment, with us on the road. So that's why there was a discussion of having a trailer. So that, and I don't know when you came into the discussion with EnviroCenter, but some of this had been shaved away by the time we got you involved. But that was the vision originally, right? Essentially replicating what Plug and Drive is doing in Toronto. And Plug and Drive was telling us, well, there isn't enough of a demand in Ottawa to do that. I beg to differ. I think there is, especially with, fortuitously, coincidentally, the gas prices going up so much. There's a super amount of interest right now in EVs, right? But anyway, so we want to be able to take the show on the road, have a tent and all that kind of stuff, right, to be able to do that. And we want to be able to scale it much more than what we can with just volunteers, right? So next slide, please. So a bit more. So then what happened is we found out that NRCan was going to be providing some funding for EV education, which is exactly really what we were trying to do, right? The idea was to educate the public, get them to do a test drive, get them to buy an EV instead of buying a gas-guzzling gas or diesel vehicle, right? And originally we were hoping Communauto would purchase at least 2 different models. But yeah, I know there's issues for Communauto because Communauto, the way they work is they have as much as possible of the same. So it's as easy as possible for their users to use their vehicles, right? So I don't know if you've rented vehicles, but every time you rent a different vehicle, the buttons are in a different place and all this. It's a pain in the arse to figure out what's what, right? So for that reason, Communauto is trying to standardize more, right? So the intent was we would provide the technical input and provide volunteers to augment what EnviroCenter would be doing with paid staff, right? And our expectations, actually, this is where things have been a bit rocky lately, and I'll be quite honest that we've had some hard discussions with our friends at EnviroCenter about this over the last few weeks. Mike and I have been involved in some difficult discussions because our intent, and I know the proposal, and actually I'll take a step back a bit. So the proposal to NRCan, there's criteria you need to meet, right? And some of the criteria in there had to do with reaching out to underprivileged groups and reaching out to First Nations. Okay, so we put some plans to do that. And it's not just to get a tiki mark on the thing. We, from my perspective in particular, coming from a very poor background, I think it's important for us to try to get those who need a vehicle. Not everybody needs their own car, so car sharing and all that is a really good solution. But for those who need a vehicle because, they work at Amazon and their shift is from midnight to 8 in the morning and there's no buses that go there and this kind of stuff, we want them to be able to access EVs so they could save all the money that they would save on fuel, right? And do what's better for the planet at the same time. So to me, this is a very important aspect of the project, but it still is a secondary objective. Objective number 1 has always been to get people to do test drives. Okay. So anyways, wanted to do we wanted to start in February or March with the Ottawa Gatineau International Auto Show. Unfortunately, it was canceled this year again, but it was our intent. And when we were talking about this originally and trying to figure out the project, we wanted to start at that time and be on rubber on the road, doing stuff at that time. Right now we're at the end of May. And we're just getting started, right? So in the proposal, we have a minimum of 800 test drives, and we have a minimum of 25 events. For us, the numbers came up here. We talked about much higher numbers, by the way, particularly for the test drives. But given COVID and all that, we sort of we didn't want to shoot too high and then have problems achieving. We preferred lowering expectations and overachieving. But for us, the real number was more like around 1,600. Okay. But unfortunately, this became, the 800 test drives and 25 events became the targets that were just enough to get this program running, okay, or program through this program. All that to say that we are now, hey?
You're not on camera.
All that to say that, so finally, we were supposed to do the official launch on the 24th. Because of the storm and all that, we pushed that back. So we're hoping to do the launch the week, next week sometime. We still don't know yet when next week, but it's supposed to be next week. There was a soft launch done last week, but the launch with the media and all that should happen next week. So you'll hear from us when that happens, because we'll be asking people to come over with their EVs if they're available to help us with the launch, right? So next slide.
Location?
Nope.
No, not yet. I would imagine it'll be the Museum of Nature also, which is, yeah. That would be a fantastic location. So, so what have we done in the meanwhile? So we actually have done a couple of events. So this is an EVCO. I did 2 presentations inside. The expectations for this, I say they were low. For us, this was an opportunity to actually do a first event with people from EnviroCenter. And so we had 2 people from EnviroCenter. We had 2 cars, well, 3, but 2 drivers. So myself and Phil, we were doing test drives with the cars. And it turned out, we thought because of the weather, sorry about the question marks there. I think the number is around, it's around 19. I don't remember. I forgot to update that. But the weather forecast was horrendous. It was supposed to be pouring all day and all that. And you can see there it's actually dry on the picture, right? You see a bit of water on one of the pictures. But it turned out the weather was much better. There were only 31 people registered for the event, an event that normally they would have expected to have 200 or 300 people. So going into it, our expectations were pretty low that we wouldn't have that many test drives, but it turned out that almost every slot that we could fill was filled. Okay, and the interest for test drives was extremely high. Okay, so, and the crowd was mostly retired folks in the Orleans area. Okay, so next, we learned a few lessons. We tried the booking system for the first time in the real environment. Tried the oops, Mike is telling me to move back into the spotlight. I like to move a lot when I talk, apparently. So what was I saying before you really interrupted me?
You did a bunch of test drives and you filled all the slots, and there was all seniors.
You're now in the race weekend.
Race weekend time.
Yeah, okay.
Move on to the race weekend.
Yeah, let's talk about the race weekend. So last weekend, we were supposed to have a permit to do the test drives from underneath the tunnel. But what happened is as soon as the storm hit, the city went dark. Okay, so why did they go dark? Probably because they were recovering stuff, right? They were all working on trying to figure out how to get the city back up and running. So we weren't able to actually confirm the permit. So then we went to Plan C, actually. We looked for other locations. We were looking for potentially running a test drives from the Westin Hotel, which has at least 2 Tesla chargers in front. And they said they would be too busy, so they wouldn't be able to let us use the space. So Plan C was to use a location across the shopping center there on Nicholas. And yeah, so we found out fairly fast that it wasn't the safest location in the city. When it's light out, it's not so bad, but when it gets a bit darker, it seems to attract people who are less friendly, if I could put it that way. So it wasn't particularly a safe location. So what we ended up doing is we canceled the test drives after the first day. We actually did only 1 test drive, which was interesting. The guy's a military guy, and he tried the acceleration quite a bit, so it was interesting. Most people never most people don't dare to really floor it, right? He floored it a couple of times, so that's fine. So we did talk to hundreds and hundreds of people. I don't have the final number. Stuart seemed to be off today, so I couldn't get the number from him. But I know that on Friday at some point they told me we already have over 300 people we talked to, and Sam's car was extremely popular.
It's a great car.
It's a great car.
It's the same car
Best car you can buy.
as what Mike has. And we have a lot of people from the Montreal and Quebec City area. A lot of people from the Gatineau side, a lot of locals also. Probably at least 25 people told me they had a car like that reserved, okay? And a whole bunch of others told us that they had one or had reserved an EV6 or had other EVs. The crowd is probably a more EV aware crowd than most, given that they're probably health nuts and that kind of stuff, and they tend to be more environmentally
I'm
aware.
offended by that.
So, you're a runner yourself, right?
Yes.
You didn't run this year, but you.
Yes, I have done it in past years, that's why I say I'm offended.
And I didn't say you're not a health nut.
You own an EV.
Yeah, yeah. So anyways, so you can see there the picture with what it looked like inside, and it was incredible. We were very busy talking to people, so everybody that was doing test drives for the most part came in, and we manned the booth. We were supposed to have only 4 people, but at some point I think we had 7. Nobody complained, so hey, we just went ahead with it. Okay, so next, please. I think next is the news. So it's your
All right, my turn then, Bob.
And I need another beer.
We need to advance the slides for me though. Hello. Next slide, please.
I was ordering my beer.
Aha. See, if you come in person, you get to order beer or other beverages. I had a Ryan Ginger. Okay. So, today, the new long-awaited DC fast chargers at the Bob Macquarie recreational complex are now online. And if you act now, they're free. I don't know how long they'll be free for, but for now they're free. So if you're out in the East End, this is your best bet to get a fast charge. They're only 50 kilowatts, but that's good enough for most people. They're decently fast, and they do get 50 kilowatts with both stations occupied. Somebody in an e-tron just happened to show up and plug in, and we were both pulling 50 kilowatts on our cars together at the same time. So they have CCS and CHAdeMO for each pedestal. You can see it there. The top parts of the pedestals actually swing out. So if your charge port's not on the right side, it'll just pivot over to the other side. So it's kind of cool that way. There was a bit of a glitchiness between sessions. So if you show up and somebody's just unplugging and it says it's out of service and it's doing a self-test, that's normal. And just wait a minute and it should come back. If not, I'm sure there's a number you can call. But it seemed to be working fine while we were there. I tested both stations. They worked fine. And yeah, Bob Macquarie is up and running. So Orleans gets its first DC fast chargers.
Well, actually,
Second.
yeah.
There's a flow at the Canadian Tire. Apparently it's not done yet.
I think in Tire there are 2 IVs.
Oh,
that
IVs,
just
okay.
came in
Just came
service a few weeks ago.
There you go. So now there's more.
Yeah.
So a plethora to choose from. Next slide, please. Anytime now. There we go. I did a little pun because Back to the Future. So DeLoreans are back for the EV future. They're launching the Alpha 5, which is actually launching later tonight. It's 9 p.m. Pacific time. So whatever that translates into our time zone. You can stay up late and watch that if you really want to after the meeting. They are gull-wing doors. So the gull-wings are back. It's a 4-seater instead of a 2-seater. It will cost a fortune, so you will not be able to afford this unless you can afford a Model X or whatever. And if you can afford a Model X, you might want to get one of these because they're cooler. The original DeLorean company was launched in '81, so before EVCO and me. They only made 9,000 cars, and then they went bankrupt. And then another company called DeLorean Motor Company, which is not the same as the original DeLorean company, was founded in 1995, and they bought the old company's IP and the logo and everything. So there's no connection between the two companies other than one company just bought the other one's stuff, like the carcass. And so they've been working as a parts and restoration company ever since. They have the tooling and whatever to make the doors and stuff, because the DeLoreans out there need maintenance. They're fossil cars, right? But anyway, now they've partnered with Untitled Design, which is the same company that designed the original DeLorean. And they've created the Alpha 5. A lot of purists are annoyed that it doesn't look the same, but come on, guys, it's like 30 years later. 40? Damn it, it's 40 years later.
It looks much freaking nice.
I think it looks pretty good.
It does.
It's 40 years in the future, people. The car's not going to be a box, okay? Like, get over it. It's not made out of stainless steel either. But you can paint it like stainless steel if you really want to. So whatever, just, it's a cool car, okay? All right, now we are the Electric Vehicle Council of Ottawa, and airplanes are technically a vehicle that I can fly. So I think it's kind of cool that Diamond Aircraft, the producers of the Katana and the DA-40, are now making an electric version of the DA-40 that they're sending into certification. They've been working on it for many years. It's DCFC capable. If you buy the Diamond, you have to buy the proprietary charger doodad that's shown in the picture here. But as airports build these out, they will appear more and more, and you'll be able to fly places in a DA-40 electric. Now, a couple caveats here. This probably won't be aimed at fellow pilots like me, and like private pilots or even commercial pilots, because this is more geared towards flight training. So you'll notice that the endurance is 90 minutes. That's about perfect for a VFR flight training session, which is 60 minutes. You need a half an hour reserve. And the recharge time is 20 minutes, which is just perfect for a briefing, debriefing session, right? So these are aimed at flight schools, but they will be getting pilots up and running on EV aircraft. And this is still early days. This is literally the first non-light sport aircraft to be produced that's electric. So give it a minute. In the future, there will be better planes. Cessna will get on board, I'm sure.
Isn't the Pipistrel the same type?
That's a light sport aircraft. So that one is, it's a two-seater, smaller, light, flimsy. If you've seen Fully Charged and their episode on it, you will understand why a light sport aircraft and the DA-40 are not the same. This is a much more substantial plane. This is the kind of plane that once they have better battery technology, 10 years from now or whatever, you'll be able to fly to Toronto with the family. The Pipistrel is more of a fragile glider type plane that you won't want to take in a heavy crosswind. This is a more like a real plane. But yeah, so flight schools will probably install these chargers based on the Pipistrel data. Actually, good that you brought it up. It will save flight schools a fortune because they always operate on a razor's edge. So going electric is a no-brainer for them. I expect this to sell well in a couple of years when it's certified. Next slide. All right, so this is kind of interesting. We all know Volkswagen Group is going electric, right? They've got the ID4, the ID5 is coming out. They've got a whole ID line of EVs. They're not doing gas anymore because of Dieselgate and all that. So they've now teased the Volkswagen Scout. And you'll notice it's not an ID car, right? It's called the Scout. And the dealers are not happy. And there's a reason they're not happy. It's because they had no idea this was coming. And the reason they had no idea this was coming is because Volkswagen Group, not Volkswagen Cars, but the parent group, the mothership, bought a company in North America called Navistar, right? They make trucks. And they bought the Scout brand from Navistar, and they're going to operate it apparently as its own thing in North America. And so they will be selling Scout SUVs and pickup trucks directly to consumers, no Volkswagen dealerships. This will be a Scout brand thing. So look for those in the coming years. Their aim is to sell 250,000, 250,000 vehicles per year under the Scout brand, pickup trucks and SUVs.
In which year? Yeah.
They didn't specify. but they're gonna start, they've released renders now, and probably take a couple of years to get to market at least. But people are thinking like 2025 is when we'll be looking at Volkswagen Group electric pickups and SUVs under the Scout brand. And the dealers are not happy because they were expecting to get all the EVs. But there's been some headaches in that department that Volkswagen is probably looking to avoid. So watch this space. Okay, NIO is planning a US factory. So if you're not familiar with NIO, it's a large Chinese automaker. They make a lot of EVs, a lot of cool looking EVs like the one in the picture here, the ET5. And they have big plans, huge plans. They want to sell in 25 countries by 2025. That is 3 short years from now. And the US is pretty high on their list, and they cannot meet demand with their Chinese factory alone. So they're looking to build a factory in the US. They already have a headquarters in San Jose, California. They're currently hiring people to help them organize and plan a factory. So they're looking for people with that sort of experience, specifically in the US with state knowledge and whatnot. So they are kind of telegraphing their plans for a US factory, and they do want to launch in North America. And they basically want to dominate the world. So there you go. The Chinese are coming again, another one. And it looks actually really cool. So there you go. NIO, keep an eye on them.
Looks like a Model 3.
Actually, that's not a mistake. That's not by accident. You know what? You know how Tesla said they opened up their patents and like go nuts? Yeah, NIO actually did that. They like took them at their word and went nuts. So there's a lot of similarities between NIOs and Teslas. Yeah, okay. The first F-150 Lightning has been delivered. So if you are on the order list for an F-150 Lightning, your hopes can start going up now because the cars are actually going to humans, like actual people that are not part of Ford. You have to live in Michigan still, unfortunately. However, Nicholas, the guy presumably in the plaid shirt, they didn't give a last name, so whatever. He pre-ordered his truck on May 2021, and I thought I was bad pre-ordering mine June 2nd for like a March delivery for my Ioniq 5, but he ordered it a month before me and confirmed it in January and only took delivery now on the 26th, which was, 4 days ago. They have 200,000 reservations for the truck, so if you're one of those 200,000, there's some hope now. They're planning to get to a production rate of 150,000 units per year. But that's going to be in a couple of years from now still. So
I believe that's the end of
2025, 2023. And the next year they're hoping they've doubled it twice already. So we'll see if they double it again. Who knows? They make 1 million trucks a year or 2 million a year, whatever. So this is a drop in the bucket technically, but they're getting there.
So I read an article about that guy.
Mm-hmm.
He had a Cybertruck on order.
And he canceled it, yeah.
He canceled it.
And a Rivian too.
They're planning to use it as a truck. They're not going to baby it.
Nice. Yeah. Well, he's wearing flannel, so obviously he's a working man.
He's a farmer.
Flannel and jeans. He's the Canadian suit right there.
But
Good,
also,
solid Canadian lad there.
but he's a Model 3 owner as well.
Oh, well, I mean, nobody's perfect.
Oh.
Next slide, please. All right. So if you're on the pre-order list for the Nissan Aria, I have some bad news for you. It's delayed again. Nissan has stopped taking orders for the 2023 Aria. That's next year's model, by the way. They began deliveries in May in Japan. So this month they started delivering them to people in Japan. They've received 6,800 whole orders in Japan. They've delivered 1,500 cars to date, which they think is high demand. And they've allocated 6,000 units to the United States market. So guess how many come to Canada? Yeah. So, Nissan. It's their second mass market EV.
And it does not have thermal management.
No, it does. This one actually, they've done it right for once. They scrapped the Leaf thing because the Leaf hasn't been updated since the Stone Age. This has CCS. It has liquid thermal management. It's a blob.
That's a real truck.
But it'll be okay. Like, I guess it's still 400 volt architecture and stuff, so whatever. But you know, it's like it's an EV. I mean, they're not going to make many of them, so I just buy something else. Really. Next slide, please. All right, now we're into the Tesla corner. So if you own a Tesla, if you're one of those people, they've pushed out an option, like an update that's an optional update, so you can turn on a virtual switch that will make your driving experience more consistent. So if your battery is like super full or it's super cold and the regen isn't working up to snuff, it'll start applying the friction brakes to simulate the regen that you would have had so that the car will slow down as you expect it to all the time, instead of just when the battery's less full, which I think is good. I think all EVs should probably do this. I haven't noticed any problems in the Ioniq 5, but you know, whatever. Update is 2022 16.0.2, so look for that in your console thing if you want it. You can be a seeker, as Microsoft calls people who look for updates. Seekers, I think that's fine. But anyway, next slide, please. Oops, other one. There we go. So Ghg Shanghai is at 70% pre-lockdown output. As we reported last month, they went offline on March 28th because China has a zero COVID policy, which is kind of nuts with Omicron. But they've officially restarted last month with 8,000 workers who are literally living in the factory. So that must be swell, given there's no union to help them not die. So they have, you know, 8,000 people working in a factory and they can't leave because COVID. So they're kind of trapped there. And they've reached roughly 40,000 units per month, which is what they were missing last month. They had a shortfall of 40,000, so they're kind of caught up, I guess. But that's still only 70% of its pre-COVID output. They're aiming to get to 100%. And hopefully they will, I guess, if the workers can do it. We'll see. China's kind of in rough shape right now, so I wish them luck. Next slide, please. Some new Teslas, I should have put some in the title there, but some new Teslas are being held due to a charging port ECU shortage. I have no idea what an ECU is. It never said it in any of the articles I read. They just took it as a given that we know what that is. But it has something to do with the charging port. And basically, the cars are being built in Fremont and delivered to the Tesla stores in whatever location, and then not being delivered to customers until the ECU arrives separately in the mail, and then they install it, and then they deliver. So people in the forums are a little annoyed about this. It's been delaying cars for several weeks, where people are like, my car is sitting in a lot. I can see it every day when I pass, and I can't have it because it's missing a thing. So this is an issue. So if you're waiting on a Tesla, like my dad, keep that in mind. It might be delayed by a few weeks, even if it arrives in Ottawa. But hopefully it's not. It's only the Model 3s and Ys right now that are affected. And hopefully they fix that supply chain issue soon.
So an ECU usually is an engine control unit. This is probably an electronic control unit.
I would assume CU is control unit.
Yeah,
I don't know what the E means, but
some computers.
it's a computer gubbins. And that's it for me. So cool. I don't think we need to applaud the news. It's just news.
It's the presentation of the news.
Just throw money. No pictures, just throw money. Sure.
Okay, so let's try to get through the past and future events as soon as we can. I need to finish my beer. So next slide, please. So this was virtual drinks last time. I don't know what else to say about this. So very interesting people that were talking about climate change issues. Cafes, we will probably cooperate with them or collaborate with them more going forward because they are trying to drive action on climate change. So very interesting work that they're doing. So next slide, please. And actually, if you want to see what they talked about, you could go see the recorded session. So Cars and Coffees in May, we had three of them, sorry. And which one did I attended the first one, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I missed the other two, unfortunately, but very interesting. We're finding very interesting people are showing up at these events. So It's allowing us to network with a bunch of people, and actually a friend of mine from university was there at the last one, hoping to see me. So hopefully we'll see him at another meeting in the future. So it's turning out to be a very interesting undertaking where we have there. So so upcoming events.
Almost like it was a good idea.
Yeah, almost. So actually, I should have put in the past events, I should have put the ones I mentioned already that we did with EV Experience, right? So the MIFO, already talked about it. And the last weekend, Tamarack Race Weekend, are also prior events. So let's talk about upcoming events. So we have so the Wilson actually will make another appearance on June 9th at Green Drinks. So this is, it's not the official launch for our
It might
program.
be. Who knows?
It might end up being it, yeah, because of the timing. But anyway, so June 9th at the regular Green Drinks meeting, the five of us here will be chatting about the program and introducing it to the Green Drinks audience. So Green Drinks attracts people who are environmentally minded. So it should drive, pun intended once again, test drives to the program. Okay, so we're really hoping that will help us get the word out. But we should be having the official launch with media sometime that week. Okay, prior to that, hopefully. I thought Old Cap was talking to at that thing, but I guess not. He's a Wilson. I don't remember. So, anyways, so next monthly meeting, where's Sam? So we're still doing it here, right? We'll do it here. So hopefully, those of you who couldn't make it today will be able to make it on site. So there is beer. It's not free, but there is beer. Not expensive, but there is beer. So and it's free on-street parking after 5:30. We found out today though with the beautiful weather that there isn't that much on-street parking.
So the roof of the parking garage would be a good spot for everyone to congregate.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's where we parked.
Yeah.
We saw you. So I would suggest next month we all sort of collect on the roof of the parking garage. The parking rates are not expensive.
Yeah.
And there's a charger in the garage. It's an EVCO charger that does work.
Yes.
If you are driving a ghetto old Leaf like I do, you can charge up there.
Yeah, unfortunately it doesn't work with bolts and some other.
Yours is my Ionic. It took 3
So-
times, but it worked.
But it did work with the Ionic?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool, okay. Anyways, next slide, please. So next, Cars and Coffees, is there something on June 11th?
Yeah, I think there is. I forgot to get back to you. I was busy today.
Okay, so we'll post it on our website.
So yeah, I'll post it on the social media and the Facebook group and our websites and everywhere. But we will have Cars and Coffee this month.
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah.
And
So
I'll let you know.
the other two are the confirmed locations.
Actually, I can tell you right now. Hang on, it's in my calendar.
So, well, let's go to the next slide. You could.
Oh no, there isn't one on the 11th because I'm going to be in Camp.
Okay. So there isn't one on the 11th then. So we have 2 of them this month, June 18th and June 25th.
That's
Okay.
it. So only the 2.
So next slide, please. Okay, so this is where things get a bit more busy. So we're going to start the Tuesday night events with Enviro Center, the EVX Tuesday night events starting on June 14th. We expect the first one will be at the Nepean Sportsplex. Not quite confirmed yet, but it should be at the Nepean Sportsplex. Okay. There will be one also on the June 28th, and then July 12th, 19th, and 26th. So we'll update you on the locations when we have them. Right now, we don't have the other locations. So I'm expecting the people who are, let's say, based in Orleans will not want to perhaps go to way to Nepean for these and vice versa, right? So, so I'm expecting that people will sign up for these only when we know the exact location, right? So
we will be needing volunteers.
We will be needing volunteers for sure, yes. So the Blackburn Fun Fair is this weekend, starts on Friday. Saturday, the highlight for Saturday is the ABBA concert. ABBA.
Nope. Nope, absolutely is not.
So Mike doesn't want to go see ABBA, but I'm kind of a fan of ABBA, so I'll go and see them. But anyways, we're going to start Friday 5 to 10 on that day. We're going to be outside only. There's nothing happening inside, but Saturday and Sunday we'll have a table inside, and we'll be taking reservations or bookings inside and doing test drives Saturday and Sunday. Now Saturday there is a parade that I will be participating in with the trailer. But we're going to do test drives meanwhile also at the same time. Okay, so 10 p.m. is starting to be a bit late there for doing test drives. We'll play by ear. We'll see if there's bookings or not. If there's no bookings, then we'll stop earlier and that's it. Okay. I already mentioned green drinks. So other things that are not quite confirmed yet, but are on our list. Well, some of them are not confirmed anyway. So Navan Fair, August 4th to 7th. We haven't quite booked that yet, but we expect to book that. Same with the Capital Fair at the River Carleton Raceway. That's 2 different weekends. So we expect to book that in the next few weeks. National Capital Auto Show, it's supposed to be around September 10th. But their site, I checked again today, their site doesn't have a date. So I'm thinking if they don't have a date by now, I'm not sure they're going to have the event this year. So we'll see. We'll see if it happens or not. But if so, we'd like to participate. Excuse me. So the September 23rd to 25th, the Outaouais Electric Auto Show. So I've been talking to the promoter of this show. He's the same promoter who did the show in Saint-Hyacinthe last year, where we had the record breaking EV parade thing, right? So spoke to him, and actually I'm going to be doing some work to help him get some dealers from the Ontario side to that show, but also I've committed to providing vehicles for the Tesla area. So Tesla does not provide vehicles for shows, right? So the idea is that we would provide up to 4 Teslas, one of each model, hopefully, and as recent as possible, so that we could put them in the show for the event, right? Teslas attract people, so that's why you'd like to have that. We're going to get a bit of a donation in return for doing that. We're also going to be talking to dealers about participating in that show, but also about participating in other events like the Sustainable Showcase, which happens to be the Saturday of the same weekend. Okay, so when it comes to our friends at Enviro Center, they will not go beyond the borders of Ottawa, essentially. So what will happen is a sustainability showcase will have mostly the Enviro Center folks doing that, and then we'll have the people we need at Outaouais car show to do the Tesla bit, but the EVCO will be doing humongous amount of test drives that weekend. Okay, so they're going to get volunteers from across the province of Quebec to come over and do massive amount of test drives, right? So so it should be very interesting. The other thing that I started talking to the promoter about is to have actually an electric car show in Ottawa. Okay, so that would be sometime in the spring of 2023. Cool. Okay, so so look for more on that as we move forward. Okay. Mid-November Santa Claus Parade, that's just an aspirational thing. I don't know if we're going to do that, but anyways, so that's what it's looking like. Very busy summer. I will be sending out messages regularly to those who have signed up to be volunteers for the EVX project, telling you which events you should sign up for. So I believe we have enough people for the fun fair on the weekend. We have quite a few people actually, so we should be okay there. But as the other events start popping up, I'm going to be sending out emails asking people to sign up. Please, please, please. The way to sign up, very simple. You go to that spreadsheet, you put yes if you're available, no if you're not, and you put the time period if you're available for a portion of the time that the event runs, okay? very simple, but I would ask you to do that because the way it's working with EnviroCenter is they are taking that and they're using that to create the bookings for the test drives and all that. So if I have to chase you to do that, then that
Where are you
slows,
looking at me?
because you're there,
Because I haven't done it yet.
because you're there.
Just get on the-
So you've done some of them, but,
Okay.
yeah, but the point is, it would be very helpful for me to be able to have you guys follow the process we've established. It's not that complicated, but it's really critical for us to be prepared in advance. I found it the last weekend, partly because we didn't have the permit, but also for other reasons that we weren't as organized as we should have been going into the event, and it certainly provided some level of stress that I'd like to avoid going forward, if I could put it that way. Okay, so next slide, I think that's it. Better be. So, okay, so this is the, again, the reminder for the EVCO YouTube channel. So if you want to look at our presentations from previous meetings and also some of the outreach stuff we have, it's on that channel. So, and please share that with anybody who's looking to find information on EVs. We certainly welcome that, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, and now we're time for the roundtable. And again, I wanted to thank CA for providing the funding for our wrap for the trailer.